The jungle was silent, too silent. Dorilla the gorilla stared at the glowing phone in his trembling hand. The voice on the other end sounded exactly like his grandson.
Grandpa, please help me.
Then the line went dead. What Dorilla did next would cost him everything. By sunrise, 40 years of savings were gone. The money he earned through storms, long work days, aching muscles, and missed vacations vanished. And the worst part, he believed he was saving his family. But this wasn't an ordinary scam. The voice was real, or at least it sounded real. Months later, investigators would discover a terrifying secret hidden deep inside the jungle. A secret every retiree needs to know, because Dorilla was never the real target. The camera moves through an old jungle village. Morning sunlight filters through giant trees. Dorilla lives alone in a modest wooden hut. His life is simple. Every day he waters plants, reads old letters, looks at photographs of family. He spent 40 years carrying heavy loads through the jungle transportation company. Never rich, never careless, just hard-working. His retirement savings represented every sacrifice he ever made, every skipped luxury, every overtime shift, every dream. He believed the hardest part of life was behind him. He was wrong. Somewhere in the shadows, someone had already begun watching him, and Dorilla had no idea. A week before the disaster, Dorilla sat beneath a giant tree speaking with Saru the monkey. Saru always seemed to know the latest news, the latest technology, the latest opportunities. And lately, Saru couldn't stop talking about artificial intelligence.
It's amazing,
Saru laughed.
It can do almost anything now.
Dorilla smiled politely. Technology wasn't his world. He trusted people, not machines. But Saru kept mentioning a famous jungle financial expert, a clever fox named Kitsune. According to Saru, Kitsune the fox helped seniors stay safe online, protected retirement accounts, stopped fraud, even taught free classes. Kitsune sounded trustworthy, helpful, successful. Exactly the kind of expert retirees admire. What Dorilla didn't know, many of Kitsune's smiling photos were fake. Many testimonials were fake. Even some of his educational videos were fake. Everything about Kitsune was carefully designed to earn one thing: trust. And trust is always where the best scams begin. Days later, Dorilla attended one of Kitsune's online jungle safety seminars. The fox appeared professional, confident, calm. He spoke directly to retirees.
Scammers are getting smarter. Protect your family. Protect your retirement.
Every sentence sounded reasonable. The audience loved him. Dorilla loved him too. Then Kitsune shared something terrifying. He claimed criminals were now cloning voices, using AI, creating fake emergency calls. The room fell silent. Parents and grandparents looked nervous. Kitsune promised he knew how to stop it. The fear he created was real. The solution he offered was fake. But nobody knew that yet. And that was exactly the plan. A few days later, Kamei the turtle visited Dorilla. Kamei was old, wise, patient, the kind of friend who never rushed decisions. Dorilla excitedly told him about Kitsune. Kamei listened quietly, then asked one question.
Why does a safety expert spend so much time talking about fear?
Dorilla paused. He didn't know. Kamei continued.
Real protection feels calm. Manipulation feels urgent.
The words lingered, but Dorilla brushed them aside. After all, Kitsune seemed helpful, trusted, popular. Surely thousands of jungle residents couldn't all be wrong, right? That night, a mysterious figure watched Dorilla's house from the darkness. The trap was almost ready. At 2:17 a.m., Dorilla's phone rang. His heart froze. It was his grandson's voice, crying, panicked, desperate.
Grandpa, it's me, Dorilla. I've been arrested, and I need your help. Please, don't tell anyone.
The voice sounded perfect. Every pause, every word, every emotion. Dorilla believed instantly. Then another voice joined the call, someone claiming to be a jungle police officer. Everything sounded real, professional, urgent. Dorilla's mind stopped asking questions. Fear took control. Within hours, he transferred nearly his entire retirement account. His hand shook, but he believed he was saving family. He never realized he was handing everything directly to the predator. The next morning, Dorilla called his grandson. His grandson answered immediately, happy, safe, confused. Dorilla's stomach dropped.
What arrest? What emergency? What money?
The jungle seemed to stop moving. Birds sang, wind blew, life continued. But Dorilla's world had ended. 40 years gone. His savings account showed almost nothing. His future suddenly felt terrifying. Sleep disappeared. Appetite disappeared. Hope disappeared. The money wasn't the deepest wound. The deepest wound was shame. He kept asking himself one question. How could I be so foolish? But the answer was more disturbing than he imagined. Weeks later, Kamei the turtle sat beside Dorilla at sunset. Neither spoke for several minutes. Finally, Dorilla broke down.
I failed.
Kamei shook his head.
No, you were targeted.
The distinction mattered. Kamei explained something powerful. Scammers don't hunt the foolish. They hunt the trusting. They hunt the loving. They hunt the people most willing to help family. Suddenly, Dorilla saw the truth. The scam succeeded because of his strengths, not his weaknesses. Kamei then revealed something shocking. Investigators had connected dozens of identical cases. Same script, same cloned voices, same manipulation. Dorilla wasn't alone, and for the first time in weeks, a small spark of hope returned. Kamei gathered several retirees beneath the ancient wisdom tree. He shared a lesson everyone remembered.
In the jungle, predators never chase the strongest animals. They chase the distracted ones.
The real crime wasn't technology. The real crime was emotional hijacking. Scammers create urgency, fear, isolation, secrecy. The moment someone says, "Act now, don't tell anyone, this is an emergency," the jungle alarm should sound. Kamei taught a simple rule. Any emergency involving money must pause long enough for verification. Always, no exceptions. One phone call could save a lifetime of savings, and one moment of patience could defeat a $1 million scam. Recovery came slowly, painfully, but it came. Dorilla reported the crime, shared his story publicly, joined support groups, helped investigators. Something unexpected happened. His shame began transforming into purpose. Other retirees listened. Many admitted they almost fell for similar scams. Some had received identical calls. Others recognized warning signs only after hearing Dorilla's story. His experience became protection for others, and every person he helped felt like reclaiming a small piece of what had been stolen. The money wasn't fully recovered, but something valuable was: his voice, his confidence, his dignity. Months later, Dorilla sat beneath the same tree where this story began. The sunset painted the jungle gold. Life wasn't perfect. Some losses remained, But wisdom had replaced fear. A young gorilla approached, concerned about a suspicious phone call. Dorilla smiled gently, then shared everything he learned. The camera slowly pulls back. The greatest scams do not steal money first. They steal trust. They steal certainty. They steal peace. But knowledge is stronger than fear, and a warning shared in time can save a lifetime of work. The screen fades to black. One final message appears. If someone calls demanding urgent money for a family emergency, stop, verify, and call the family member directly. One phone call could protect your retirement. Then one final question appears. Would you recognize your loved one's voice if it wasn't really them?